A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to each and every one of you. Every week, I have the pleasure of having a meaningful conversation with authors, speakers, and coaches. Today is no exception, with the exclusion. This is sort of a candid conversation between me and my dear friend, author, speaker, and coach, Saahil Mehta. Welcome, Sahil.
How are you, Gautam? Such a pleasure to be back.
Yep. Always a pleasure to have a conversation with you and sort of update each other and learn from one another. But today's conversation, we wanted to touch upon, first and foremost, I'd love you to sort of give an introduction for those with us today, of you and your journey, Sahil.
So great. So thank you, Gautam. So my name is Saahil Mehta. I'm an entrepreneur, author, and mountaineer. And I've had the pleasure of working with some great people over the last few years and helping them scale their summits of success by removing or breaking free from the clutter that's been holding them back. And the clutter is, it's all those things that don't serve you any purpose anymore, no function, and just kind of sit there and, you're dragging it around everywhere with you. So it's time to break free and rise above.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I know recently with the lockdowns lifting, you've had the pleasure of traveling in recent months, but there's a particular trip that you took to a city, a state for the very first time, and you had the pleasure of spending a day with the legendary Marshall Goldsmith. Could you share some insights into how this happened and who's Marshall Goldsmith behind the scenes?
Wow. So how it happened? I mean, they say you set your intention and things start to unfold, right, or manifest. And after hearing Dr. Marshall Goldsmith speak on several occasions, I really felt connected, that we were on a similar wavelength on our way of thinking. And I asked myself, how amazing would it be to meet this man? How amazing would it be to collaborate with him? And so when the opportunity arose of taking the distribution rights for his stakeholder-centered leadership program in the Gulf and in the India regions, I didn't hesitate to take on that opportunity. And with that, I reached out to him, with your support and others, and said, hey, look, I'm in America. I would love to meet you. And, perhaps we could record some videos that we can use to promote this program in our area. And to my surprise, he said yes. And to an even bigger surprise, he said, let's meet at my house. Then we'll go for lunch. And then we'll meet back at my house. And I was like, wow, I'm not just getting a few minutes or an hour with him. I'm getting pretty much half a day. So truly, truly amazing. And what, behind the scenes, he's exactly what you see on screen or on stage. Same person. I mean, so authentic, full of humor, full of life. And one thing that was probably the biggest learning for me was not everything that he said, but it's how he made me feel. Marshall Goldsmith, he's a legend. He's best-selling author, top leadership coach in the world. I mean, there's no shortage of accolades and awards that he has. But during the time that we were together, he made me feel like I was the most important person in that moment. He didn't have his phone. He wasn't constantly ringing saying, excuse me, Sal, sorry, let me just take this call. No, there was only one call he took, and he announced it right at the start that I have a scheduled call. I will have to take it at this time, and you'll have to excuse me for 20 minutes. But apart from that, he was with me the entire time. And what a humble human being. What a special guy. Authentic.
Phenomenal, yeah. I mean, I've had the pleasure of knowing Marshall for well over 10 years. I mean, to me, his books have sold millions of copies worldwide, been read by millions of people. Thousands of people may have had the pleasure of seeing him for live events when they've sort of interacted and learned with him for the day, maybe a few pictures, signed books. But you were one of the few people I know who actually spent a day in his home for an entire day. And that's something which is really priceless as an experience. And, having known him for 10 years, I haven't had that pleasure or experience. So I can say you're definitely one of the very few on this world who've had that pleasure and privilege. Um, I really resonate with what you shared about his presence, and that's one thing I really acknowledge about a great leader. On a personal level, humble, authentic, and as big as his reputation is globally in the thought leadership world. Thinkers 50 ranked, 3 times, best-selling author, #1 leadership coach in the world. As big as his reputation is counterintuitive, but is as humble, is as grounded, as approachable, as authentic he is. And one of the great attributes which you acknowledge, and I really just want to affirm that for great leadership, is he was fully present. He was living in that moment. To some extent, one of the things I really felt that you and him really align on is really in the decluttering space, because really it's about, doing, experiencing things which add value to the life. Things which have no more meaning or serve you as a leader are not there as distractions in your life. So I'm so glad that you had that day with him, Sahil.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate indeed. So, I guess it was a blessing. So, and thank you for your assistance in the whole process as well, Gautam.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now, you mentioned about stakeholder-centered leadership, popularly known as SCL. What is SCL?
Stakeholder-centered leadership is a program that Marshall has developed, which is really good as a standalone product as well, just if you want to improve as a leader, because you learn such great tools. But for those who want to train others, which is primarily the audience, it's how can you train leaders and future leaders to become the best versions of themselves, to become, and operate at their highest potential. I mean, for example, some of the things that are covered in the program are the leader of the future. Let me elaborate on that point. Previously, the leader of the future knew everything and was kind of looked up to and had all the answers. And the leader of the future is hiring people that are way more talented than him or her. But it's making sure that they're empowering the people to become leaders as well. It's not I have the answers. It's let me empower you to be the leader. It's not about local business. It's now about global business. It's not now about systems that are outdated. It's keeping up with and adapting with technology that's moving at a very rapid pace. So he covers a lot of these things in the leader of the future. The other thing that he covers is one of the concepts that he's come across or that he's put together, and that's feed forward. Now, like everyone, or at least you might react the way I did, is I'm like, what is feed forward? I've heard of feedback. And imagine if I tell you, Gautam, that, the speech that you gave yesterday, you should have been more animated. The lighting wasn't good. Perhaps you should have worn a yellow shirt and not a blue shirt. One, you may not feel good because, it's about something that's happened and you might feel, I feel, below you, or, I don't know. There's lots of different thoughts that might go in your head. But when we talk about feed forward, it's not about what's already done. It's about what can happen in the future. So it's, perhaps next time you want to consider a place which is more illuminated so that people can see you more clearly. Perhaps next time you want to wear a shirt that doesn't blend with the background. I mean, it's more about the future. And the beautiful thing is you can just sit there, you listen, you don't comment back, you just take it all in. And at the end you say, thank you. And then it's up to you what you want to take from that and apply in your life. So that's just that's just a small part of feed forward that I'm sharing with you. There's so much more to it that again is highlighted in the course. And then he also talks about, different traits on how to become a better leader. Again, we talked about the leader being able to tell everyone what to do. Now a great leader is one who asks, who's more vulnerable. So again, he'll go through lots of different character traits that makes you a better version of yourself and empowers leaders to become better at what they do. So these are just some of the elements that are being covered in the Stakeholder-Centered Leadership Trainer program.
Fantastic. No, thanks for sharing that, Sahil. And if you could, is this something that's delivered virtually? Just to clarify, it's something that's delivered globally and it's delivered virtually. Is it? Just want to confirm that as well.
Yeah, no, look, it's a program that's offered online, so you do it at your own pace. It's a set of videos, so you can do, there are multiple modules. You can do each module, and within each module there are subsections. You just do it at your own pace. And what I like about the program, it's not just the education. He's got all the interviews that he's had with some of the top leaders in the world. You have Hubert Joly from Best Buy, who turned the company around, went from a company, it was nearly bankrupt to, started to thrive. It also includes one of the most successful leaders of all time, Alan Mulally, who was the CEO of Ford, where I can't remember the exact numbers, but the stock price went from around $1 up to $18 while he was CEO, just completely turned the company around. It also includes, the 12th president of the World Bank, I forget his exact name, but the 12th president of the World Bank. And so you have all these interviews that you can access as well.
Right.
And because it's not just about what he's sharing with you as a trainer and giving you the tools, but you get to hear from some of these leaders from their own mouth. And on top of that, he's also sharing a whole bunch of content and slides, which again, you can use when you're training others.
Fantastic.
So there's a whole host of information that's available, all online, all accessible at any time, as long as you have connection to the internet.
That's great. What kind of access do we get to Marshall himself during this instructor-led, virtual sort of delivery? Is there access to Marshall during this journey?
So there is a process where you get to interact towards the end of the course. You get to interact with Marshall, and it's where you get the opportunity to even present, right? So the people that put this together, Patrick and Kazia, you get to attend an exclusive online training session with them, where they're actually going to give you feedback and feed forward on what you're doing and how you can improve as a trainer. So you get to hear back from the legend himself on how you can improve.
Fantastic. That's great. Now I've got some valuable insights from what you've shared, and obviously very familiar with feed forward as one of the many sort of learning habits that you get from Marshall Goldsmith. And to be able to then imbibe that as part of our skill set, our knowledge and our experience, and then share it with our sort of network, be it our internal team members, be it your customers, be it anybody you interact with, it will just transform the kind of relationship you have with people. Just one more clarity that I really like is who will actually benefit from SCL? I mean, is this for coaches? Is this for trainers, speakers, and senior leaders? Could you elaborate a little bit more on who would benefit from SCL?
Sure. So one of the differences between this and coaching is primarily focused on one-on-one, whereas SCL is really focusing on a group, doing it on stage at a seminar, training, but to multiple people. And so it really benefits those who are training others to become better leaders. But
Right.
It's as a standalone course, just, if you're a leader, you can just take it for yourself. You may not want to train, but you may want to learn the tools for yourself, which you can then share with your team. So it's not just for the trainers, but it's as a standalone product, it's great for leaders as well. And what the beauty is, Gautam, is you get certified as a SCL trainer by the end of the course, because you will have to submit a video of yourself giving a training, and which will be reviewed. And if they believe that you have the right elements based on the learnings, then you get certified by Marshall Goldsmith himself. So you're not just walking away with a training online, you're walking away as a certified stakeholder-centered leadership trainer, and that too by Marshall Goldsmith himself, not by you or I.
Fantastic. So you have the credibility of the endorsement from Marshall Goldsmith himself, who's a global thought leader known to corporates around the world. It's a certification from him. It's a skill set with the knowledge from him. From your experience of certifications in the corporate world or when you're speaking to clients, what value do you see in conversations when they see that you've been certified as a coach or as a trainer or as a speaker? How's that distinction been for you so far, Sahil?
Look, no matter, unless if you're someone really famous, where it doesn't really matter what certification you have, because you already have the brand name. For everyone else, there's so many trainers out there, there's so many options, that if there's a way where you can rise above the rest through something like this, which is a certification, and that too, it's not a certification from Gautam and Sahil, it's a certification from Marshall Goldsmith himself. So that's not only very powerful from as perception from the other person's eyes, but it's also great for yourself because it boosts your confidence, right? It's not just that you've done a training, someone has stamped you as approved, and you're like, wow, I did it. I'm now a certified SCL trainer. So it's going to boost your confidence levels, and that will reflect in your training as you share that with your audience.
Fantastic. So what I heard from you, what you shared, is first and foremost, you yourself, be your self-esteem, your confidence, and obviously your skill set has then been endorsed through this certification program. So there's a certain sort of outlook that you have. Now, from a customer's perception, I can further endorse what you've shared, that, we've been representing Marshall Goldsmith as right selection in this region for many, many years. Now, to engage someone of the caliber of Marshall Goldsmith requires a significant investment. So when companies approach us, they would love to have Marshall Goldsmith's philosophy as a part of their company culture. But at the same time, they may not always be able to have access to him or even be able to make that investment in him. And this gives those companies a wonderful opportunity to have the knowledge, skill set, philosophies, principles, and habits from Marshall Goldsmith through a certified, in this case, stakeholder-centered leadership trainer. So I see great value in growing the community of SCL certified trainers in the Gulf and the Indian subcontinent. Because again, if I know Marshall Goldsmith as well as I do, his whole philosophy at this stage in his career path in his life is to leave a legacy and pay it forward. So his goal is really, the best way to pay it forward is to sort of share his knowledge, empower coaches, trainers, speakers globally to sort of be empowered with his knowledge, but make sure they've gone through a sort of structured process and system. So it's not just a one-day course or just a short workshop. It's actually a structured process and system, in this case virtually, that they go through that. They're then certified, and they're keeping that legacy, and they have the credibility of being certified by Marshall himself and be able to, enhance that sort of for the future. So those are sort of my insights from experiencing speaking with customers and sort of from Marshall's perspective on what's his why in terms of growing the community of certified coaches, trainers, and speakers. So that's great. Anything else you'd like to add, Sahil, to what you've shared today?
Well, there's a question I see from Tanvi, which is, how can global CEOs benefit from the SCL trainer program? So, I would say it's, let me share one example, because I can talk and talk and talk, but I'd love to share one of the examples that he teaches, which I was very, it really resonated with me. Now, as a leader myself, you have to ask yourself, is perhaps giving your opinion serving purpose? Like, is it going to add value? Think of it this way, Gautam, you come to me, let's say you're working for me, and you come to me and you share an idea, and you're all excited, and it was amazing. And my intentions are good. I might say that, perhaps instead of using dark blue for the logo, perhaps you should use just blue. Now, my opinion indirectly just became an order, because like everyone's thinking, oh, he's the boss. If he said it, we have to do it.
Right.
And it also took away from your ownership and your excitement. Now, again, my intention might have been great, but what effect did it have on you? And now, even if dark blue looked better than blue, the team may just resist in changing it because the boss said, make it blue. So, it's tools like that. He plants those seeds in your mind, because you may not know that you're doing something that is affecting the team in a negative way, but you are.
Right.
And so again, this is just one tool where you are, sometimes before commenting back on some of my team members, I ask myself, is it worth it? Is it really going to have that huge an impact? And if the answer is no, as he says, let it go. Let it go. Don't bother. Let them take ownership. Let them be all excited about it. Because these are the future leaders. You want to empower them. You don't want to, give an order.
Right.
So, again, a simple tool, and there's so many more in the bag. I can just go on and on and on. But okay, come on. I'll give you one more. It's about winning too much. We have this tendency. We like to win, and it's the funny thing is, it's not just. You might come to me and say, "Oh, I did a round of golf and I hit par on the golf course," and I might say, "Oh, well, I was 1 under par," and just to top you, right? But I could have just said, "Wow, well done, Gautam," right? I didn't have to top you. But the funny thing is that even when people are on the negative end, they still want to win. Like how much worse I was than you, so you might have said, you know what? It's like when someone comes home one day and the spouse says, "Oh, I've had a real bad day," and then you go, "What? You've had a bad day?" "Well, I've had a real bad day. Let me tell you," and then blah blah blah. And they don't care. They just wanted you to hear them out, But instead, you wanted to win. Again, this is not with the bad intentions. It's just you like winning. That's why you're a leader. You're used to winning. So it's, when is winning too much a problem? And so these are the seeds that his training course plants in your mind, which allow you to become a better leader.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sahil. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of the comments and participation. We have Ron Thomas. Hi, Gautam. Hi, Sahil. We have Asita Khan saying hello. Ron Thomas acknowledging Marshall. He's so down to earth that you lose track of the legend. I can relate to that for sure. And obviously the question that we had from Tanvi, which is great. So for those interested in the Gulf and the Indian subcontinent to, know more about the SEL training program, we'll share the link in this in the chat box, sort of in the comments section. And if there's something you'd like to explore, then we do invite you to do that. So again, clarifying, this is great for trainers, for senior leaders, for speakers, for people who speak to more than just one-to-one. Coaching is obviously predominantly one-to-one, but once you're speaking to a group of any size, then it would be more of training and speaking. But in this case, you become a stakeholder-centered leadership speaker and trainer in this region. So, Sahil, anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up for today?
If there are any questions or comments, please put them below, and we're just a message away should you have any questions about the program.
Fantastic. And I know in your time in Nashville, you had the opportunity to have a conversation with Marshall, and I believe you're sharing sort of bite-sized videos once a week. What day of the week is that scheduled?
So we haven't scheduled it on a particular day of the week yet, Gautam, but there will be bite-sized videos, as you mentioned, coming out on a weekly basis, which will give some lovely tools to people to continue to develop their leadership.
Fantastic. So for those watching today, this interview and this sort of conversation between Sahil and myself, I encourage you to follow Saahil Mehta on his page. He's an inspirational author of the book Break Free. He's an executive coach and also a recognized speaker who is also going to be sharing, as I said, bite-sized conversation that he's had with the legendary Marshall Goldsmith. So you can watch out for those sort of short videos. If you're interested in SEL, do connect with us. My closing question for you, Sahil, is what's next for Saahil Mehta?
Wow, what's next? Well, get certified by Marshall Goldsmith myself. I've started the training, almost finished it, and now it's time to get the certificate and become an SCL trainer myself.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's great. It's been an absolute pleasure, Sahil. I look forward to sort of having a similar conversation with you once a month and really updating our viewers on what's happening in sort of stakeholder-centered leadership in this part of the world. As this program develops with more and more certified trainers and speakers, thanks to the awareness that we create to that sort of community over here. I guess one final distinction is that someone asked me, is saying, if I'm a certified coach, can I also do this program? So if one's a certified coach, be it Marshall Goldsmith or you're certified by one of the other bodies, can this also be a benefit? To me, would be a closing question I'd like you to elaborate on.
Absolutely. As a coach, if you're presenting to a wider audience, you're presenting to, you're giving a keynote, you're running large training programs, this will definitely help you because it's showing you how you can work with large groups as opposed to the one-on-one. So for sure. And one thing I do want to highlight, Gautam, as well is for anyone who actually signs up for the program today, there is a session that's being held live with Marshall, I believe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So they would get access to attend that event as well. So that is a big plus, for anyone who's going to register for the program today.
Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege, as always, Sahil. Look forward to staying closely in touch. For those interested in SEL, do let us know. Otherwise, do connect with Sahil and myself on LinkedIn. We always appreciate staying closely connected with professionals who have a passion for continuous learning and development. Have a good evening and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.